Hello, and welcome to Sunrise Gratitude Summit, a video series for better mornings. I'm Emily Silva, and today my guest is Nate Hockstra. His mission is to help men find a meaningful relationship without using any pickup or game playing. He is the founder of Ditch the Game, and he began his coaching career working for the world-renowned self-help author, speaker, and coach Tony Robbins. He's coached over 2,000 individuals from all over the world. He's one of my favorite humans and my husband. Welcome, Nate. Hi, honey.
Hi.
So I'm really excited to have Nate here today because he's my favorite person and he even makes me blush after dating and being married to him. So my first question that I ask everyone is, would you consider yourself a morning person?
I would, definitely.
And why is that?
Because I think that I don't sleep in very late. I get up early. Sometimes I'm more of a morning person than I'm an earlier morning person than other times, but I definitely consider myself a morning person, probably because I don't stay up that late either. I'm definitely not a night person, so that would probably make me a morning person.
So what are some things that make the perfect morning for you?
What are some things that make the perfect morning for you? Well, I've taken a page from your playbook in the recent year, and I start my morning off with reading. So I always get up and have a book that I'm reading, and before I start my reading, I'll do a little bit of gratitude. I keep a gratitude journal, and then something that one of my mentors invited me to do, which is keep a brag book, and that's essentially just writing down something that you're proud of in yourself, and it's a way to build self-esteem.
So a brag book could be really hard for a lot of us because we don't want to seem braggy and self-confident. It's hard, especially for women, to feel very confident about ourselves. So was it easy for you to start your brag book?
Yeah, because you're not sharing it with anyone. It's a brag book for yourself. You're not like bragging to someone else. You're bragging. You're recognizing parts of your life that you're proud of. You're acknowledging accomplishments, and it's simply a journal for you to keep to refer back to and build reference for all the great things that you've done, because so many people don't take account of their accomplishments and good stuff that they've done.
And you've done a lot of great things.
Well, thank you.
So I want to tell a story about how you and I met, because we dated online. So Nate and I met almost 5 years ago. We were both dating online, trying to find our spouses. And this is going to lead into his business and why he does the things that he does. But I had written off dating. I had written off trying to get a book published because I had just run into so many brick walls. And on January 1st, 2016, I said no more to trying to get published and no more to finding my spouse. I was like, I'm going to live my life by myself and do my thing. So then my girlfriend told me that I should get on Bumble, because on Bumble, girls have the control. Do they still have the control where they can say hi first?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think that's the premise of the app.
Back then, I could message first because I didn't like getting these unsolicited messages from creepy men. So I saw Nate's picture and he had this full beard, super hot and sexy, and it said life coach. And I thought, at least I'm gonna have a really good conversation with this person and he probably won't be super creepy. So I said, hi. I don't even remember what my message was, but it was short and sweet. And I was basically getting off the app in a week. So something that really stuck out to me about Nate was that he called me, and he messaged me first to get my number, but then he called me, and men weren't calling. They were only texting and using the messages. And I thought, wow, this is an evolved human who's available
I do know how to use a telephone.
It's
crazy.
But no, honey, a lot of people weren't using the phone. They weren't calling. They were just like trying to make a date with a text, and you called me. And I really liked your voice. And then you were we had a good, quick conversation, and we decided to meet on January 27th. And that same day, I received my first book deal. It was it's been the best day of my life other than our wedding. But tell me a little bit about what you did, because you dated a long time before we met.
Yeah.
You were 31, 32 when we met?
Yeah.
So
31, I think.
and you've had your dating trials. So do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the shifts or some of your dating issues?
Sure. Well, I mean, I think the issues started from a breakup that I had when I was 22 years old, and it ended about as badly as I think any breakup could go, with cheating and just a lot of heartbreak involved. And that was a 4-year relationship, so it was definitely a blow to my self-esteem, and just my heart was broke. No, there's no two ways about it. So I think that it took me a long time to heal from that. And at the time, I still lived in Michigan, and um, I was 22. I moved to California when I was 26. I hadn't had a relationship, like a long-term relationship, until I met you. So that was almost 9 years. Now, my when I really started getting serious about dating, I was probably 27 or 28. But even from 28 to 31, just a lot of heartbreak involved. And I think that, part of that is just finding the right person. But I think I also, at least my belief is that I had to learn some lessons. I had to first heal myself. But then secondly, I had to, just learn to be happy alone and figure out who I was, and not be so attached. Every time I would break up uh, with someone, whether it was a week relationship or a month long, I would be devastated, and it was like a roller coaster ride. It's like every time you break up, you want to, you need a break, and then you take 2 or 3 months off, and then you finally muster up the courage to put yourself back out there again, and then you find someone else, and the same thing keeps happening. And it was a roller coaster ride. And I think at one point, before I met you, I just realized, like, I was putting so much of my happiness into these relationships
Mm-hmm.
that um, I needed to not let it be such a big deal. And I actually dated someone very shortly, or very recently, before I met you, and same thing happened. We dated for probably 2 or 3 weeks, and then it broke off. And initially, like, it stung really hard, but I just said, you know what, it is what it is. And I didn't let it bother me. And then I felt like that lesson had kind of been learned, and you appeared. So
Yay. But there were some things that you did that we both did
mhm,
to attract each other.
yeah.
And actually on our first date, we talked about this. And when he used the word manifestation, I was like, oh, this is my husband. I just knew it because I was 35 when I met you, and I had been on so many dates where nobody used the word manifestation and they all thought I was crazy because I had oracle cards and crystals and whatnot. But he said manifestation. So tell me what you did to attract your wife,
Mhm.
me.
Yeah, well, I'd always had my list. I knew what I wanted. I had known what I wanted for a long time. I'd written it down. I had my must and my must not, my non-negotiables. And it just wasn't panning out. The good thing about that is I was attracting the right type of women. I was attracting women who were relatively self-conscious. Or not self-conscious. They had a consciousness about them, usually spiritual, had their life together. So that was a good thing. But I couldn't find the right one. And so at one point, I just started visualizing, and I wasn't really visualizing. I didn't have a habit, I didn't have a ritual of visualizing. And then I started incorporating that probably, I don't know, maybe a month, maybe 2 months before I met you. And I do believe that made a huge impact in my ability to find you. So,
Yes, and I did the same thing. I had a list, and um, I got choked up listening to you say that.
happens a lot.
I get choked up all the time. But I think that something that's really important is it's good to have a list of the things that you want in your partner, but also being flexible, because you and I were not 100%
Hmm.
what each other's lists
Hmm.
were, but we were 100% what the musts were.
Hmm.
So I think that's really important. But this leads to your company. So
Hmm.
can you tell us a little bit about Ditch the Game? And because You've been
Well,
coaching for years.
before I answer that, I also want to acknowledge what you said was we weren't 100%. We had all the must, but we didn't have the nice to haves.
Hmm.
And admittedly, one of my nice to haves was, a certain physique, a certain body type. And I believe that that was that you were attracted into my life for a reason because that was another lesson that I needed to learn, which was to not be so attached to the physical body or the looks. And without going into too much detail, that has been a learning experience for me. And we've had our own trials and tribulations around that in the beginning of our relationship, but ultimately I'm a better person. I've grown a lot from that, and I think that happened for a reason. And I've also been able to help a lot of men get over those things as well, because society programs what we think is attractive and how important attractiveness is, and it's just programming. That's all it is. It's just programming, and I find that it blocks a lot of people from finding love. And so that was a big lesson that I needed to learn, at least.
Yes, Nate has embraced my curves.
Yeah, and I love them. But you also had something similar,
I
right?
wanted somebody that was 6 foot whatever, and
Mhm.
Nate is 5'9". He's 2 inches taller than me, and I put a lot of my wedges away. But then after a while, I was like, I don't care if I'm 3 inches taller than you when I'm wearing these shoes. So we definitely had to. And they were physical things, which are so stupid now.
Mhm.
But in the beginning, it was like, oh, I wanted somebody 6 feet, and he wanted somebody 5'2" and 3 pounds. So we didn't get
I
either
don't know
of those
about
things.
3 pounds, but
But anyway, let's talk about your business. Tell us a little bit about what brought you to creating Ditch the Game, because you've had a long coaching career.
yeah, it's a lot simpler than probably what, would make for a really great story. But essentially,
It is a great story.
okay, well, I've always wanted to be the owner of my own business. And um, I had to pick something that I felt that I could add value to the world and to men by. And I just think through my coaching experience and probably my own life experience, some of the biggest lessons I've had to learn were around dating and love. And you're, the greatest accomplishment of my life. And so um, I just think that I had to just pick, and I came from a coaching company at Tony Robbins where we helped people with every facet of their life. And I learned pretty quickly when I started a business that, you can't be a one size fits all kind of person. You have to have something that you help. Are you going to be okay?
Yeah.
You have to have a certain niche that you help people with. And so I just picked the thing that made the most sense to me, and that was helping guys find love, because it was something that I struggled with for so long.
And you're doing a great job. So what made you want to become a coach? Because you were not a coach.
Mm-hmm.
You were living a very different life than you are now.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know this side of you.
What made me become a coach? The short side of it is just the desire to help people. And I think that every one of us deep down has a purpose, and it might not manifest in the exact same way, but I think it's all similar in that we're here to help one another. We're here to connect and grow each other. And that was just my vehicle for being able to do that. And I don't know, I was very inspired by Tony Robbins. I used to work in sales, and one of the things that you do in sales is you make sales calls. So I drove around all day, every day, and I just got sick and tired of listening to the radio, quite frankly. So I started listening to books on tape and self-development programs to just, I figured, hey, I might as well put something good in my brain while I'm sitting here doing nothing. And Tony Robbins was the guy that I resonated with the most. And he inspired me. He inspired me to give back. And, one thing he talks a lot about is contribution, and that life isn't just about me, it's about we. And so, yeah, I think his message stuck with me, and it made me want to switch to something that felt right in my heart. And sales for me, or at least the type of sales that I was doing, did not feel right. The path that I was going, I knew wasn't the right path deep down, and took a lot of courage to make that change. But once I did, I felt aligned.
I think that you do have a lot of courage. That's something that attracted me to you is your bravery, because you are from Michigan
Mm-hmm.
and you had this dream ever since you were younger to live by a beach.
Mm-hmm.
And you just one day drove to San Diego, and you've been here for 11 years, 9 years,
2011, 9 years.
9 years.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell me a little bit about just that dream of growing up? Because I feel like you're the epitome of visualization and making things happen. Like you were little thinking about living on the beach. Maybe you didn't know it was visualization, but you clearly visualized this
Mm-hmm.
life.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to say about it other than I just always wanted to live somewhere warm. We used to take vacations to Florida with my family, and we do it during the winter time. So the contrast of the cold weather to the palm trees was pretty significant. And then my mom always says that I used to get super depressed when we'd leave. Like I'd have postpartum vacation depression, and like really, really bad for a week or two at a time. And yeah, I think it was just natural for me to dream of a warmer place. I never was really huge into winter sports. I mean, I did snowboarding and ice fishing and whatnot, but it wasn't something I was super passionate about. So I just
It's actually something that your mom and dad warned me about. They were like, Emily, Nate gets vacation depressed.
Mm-hmm.
When he was little,
Yeah.
he'd come home and he'd be very sad for a week, because you and I travel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you get as bad as when you were little, but yeah, there's definitely a letdown. I get that too. Like we just went to Colorado and I cried I cry a lot, guys. And I cried as we were leaving the mountains because I just loved being there so much. Also, last year we traveled for 7 weeks, something like that, right, in Europe. And it was something that another thing to show your bravery. It was just something that was like, let's pack up and go. And one of the things that made me I really wanted in a spouse was somebody that would just travel with me without needing to convince them too much. And I had dated people where my job sent me all over the world, and I'm like, I'm going to be in Argentina, come see me. And they're like, no. And you are just like, let's go. You always want to go. You're always looking at a map, ready to buy a plane ticket. And that's just something that's so exciting to me. So with our trip last year, you were starting your business back then, getting your business going. So can you, for those of us who want to be digital nomads, probably a lot of us now that COVID's been keeping us at home, can you give us some tips on how working on the road worked for you?
Oh, how did it work for me? Well, I will say this, the good thing about being in Europe was the schedule, and it was easy for us to be able to act like tourists during the day and then do our work in the evening, because that's really when everybody was waking up here in the States. So in that sense, it worked out great. In the other sense, when you're traveling, there's definitely, you're seduced by wanting to get out and experience everything. So I'm not going to say I was as focused as I probably normally am at home. So I think just keeping rituals and keeping discipline with the things that you do here are super, super effective. And we kept those. We ate smoothies in the morning like we do here. I kept my morning routine when I was overseas, and just tried to keep some of the habits. We were working out regularly, so, and not making it as much of a vacation style vacation as it was like we were just living abroad. So that helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing that we went through that everyone's going through is COVID. And so my next question is, how do you think we kept our relationship healthy during COVID?
How did we keep our relationship?
I mean, there were things.
Yeah, but COVID wasn't that huge of a change. It was definitely harder, but we work from home all day, every day anyways. So it wasn't like there was this shift where now we weren't used to seeing one another all day, every day. We just didn't have the outlets like we normally do. So
Nate's a big golfer.
Yeah. And once the golf courses opened up, I think that helped a lot. But meditation is incredibly important to keep yourself in check and keep your emotions at bay. Exercise is pretty important. All the stuff that we know to do that we don't always necessarily do. Communication, yeah. I think we even learned communication almost the hard way. We've had to figure out communication, what's right for us, through trial and error. And I'm by no means, finished in that. But I think learning empathy has been my lesson, and I like to think that I'm doing better at it.
You are.
But yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we had a lot of grief and frustration. There's been plans we had plans to go on trips this year. And just like so many others, there's so much going on in the world. And I think like being stuck in the house together, or the apartment, we have a very small 1-bedroom apartment. And like he said, we've been doing this, like we work from home all the time. It's never like, none of us have ever gone to like a co-working space even. So there's a lot of people who are working from home now, and it's really hard for them. Mm-hmm. So what are some tips you would give to spouses who have to work in the same space? Because you and I have it down, I think.
What are some tips that I would give? We've been doing it so long that it's not even something that I think about anymore. I guess one thing that we do is we try and work in separate rooms. Yeah. Just to kind of have that physical barrier between one another. I don't know, at least for me, it's a lot easier to stay focused when I'm not sitting right next to you. I don't know why, but
because I'm staring at you, probably.
That helps for me. Just what we said, keeping a regular exercise, meditating, eating healthy, keeping rituals that you have that keep your spirit healthy and your emotions high. So whatever that is for you.
And I think also understanding your spouse's emotions, like when they're down, mm-hmm. don't try and make them up right away, and vice versa. We've had to learn to match each other's energies. Yeah. I'm really happy you're here.
I'm happy to be here.
You're wonderful.
Thank you.
My favorite question to ask everybody is, what are you grateful for today?
What am I grateful for? Well, I'm actually reading a book on gratitude called The Magic. And I read it years ago when I was at Tony Robbins. All the coaches were reading the same book at the same time. And I remembered feeling this overwhelming sense of gratitude like I'd never felt before. And that book kind of helped anchor that feeling for me. And so I wanted to revisit it recently. So to make a long story short, today I was grateful for health. Right. So it's a gratitude challenge that you go through. If you want to go, if you want to pick it up, it's a great book. But it's a 28-day gratitude challenge. And today was health. And so just being grateful for, the organs that keep you alive, your beating heart that you don't have to think about, your eyes that allow you to see, your sense of touch and smell, and your ears that allow you to hear things, your feet and legs that allow you to walk, and hands that allow you to do things that, you just take for granted. And everyone knows how much health is important until we don't realize it until we lose it. Right. So
especially now.
Yeah, definitely. Especially now. And so today I was grateful for my health. Amongst many other things, you obviously.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for your spirit and the work that you bring into the world. And I think your heart to helping men find their meaningful relationships is just beautiful, because I know what you went through to get to your meaningful relationships. So I know that you have the tools to help them. How can people find you or get in touch with you? Or if any of my lady viewers have men in their lives that need some help, but where do they send them?
So you can email me at nate@ditchthegame.com. My website is ditchthegame.com. You can find me on Facebook and send me a message, or Instagram, which I don't use often, but
I'll add all the links
at Ditch the Game. So Yeah, those would be the easiest places.
Well, thank you, honey, for being here today and for being the final interview on the Sunrise Gratitude Summit. He's been with me for all three books. He's watched me write every single one. And so it's very special to have him as the end of this summit. So thank you, everyone, for watching. And we will see you soon, probably, because I'm sure Nate and I will do more recordings of some sort.
Yeah.
Thanks, honey.
Bye.